This episode of Badass Agents Podcast is brought to you by Jason Smith team at Nova Home Loans. Jason, a Navy veteran, has been recognized as one of the top 100 loan originators in the country. There is no task too big or too small for the Jason Smith team. Every client counts. For the best rates and great service, contact Jason at 480-227-6231 or visit novahomeloans.com. I personally stand by his service, and so do thousands of satisfied clients. That's Jason Smith at Nova Home Loans, NMLS number 210839. I think it's time we all raise our standard of what commitment means. It can't be when it's convenient. Commitment means if there's a time to show up, you show up. If there's a time to eat, you have to eat. If there's a time to make your calls, if there's a time to send an email, if there's a time to follow up, then you do those things. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, AZ Araujo, and I'm glad you're joining me today. Thank you. It's a Monday. It's a glorious day. It is the first official week of the second quarter. And as 90 days go by, as 12 weeks, are now in the bag, per se, of the new year of 2021, we have to ask and reflect of what we've created. What are the things that we've done? What are the things that we've pursued? Did we stay committed? Did we falter? Did we create the things that we wanted? And that's sometimes tough to really go back and analyze, right? Just because we know that maybe we didn't commit to all the things, but there is improvement in everything we do if we continue this path of just knowing that we have a responsibility to do the work every day, right? To do the work, that faith statement we talked about just knowing that if we put our noses down, if we open ourselves up to the opportunities that are available to us, that our lives will improve. And here we believe that if you put the necessary deposits in your power, in your health, right? Your health and also in your overall sense of purpose, it'll increase your profits. And so much so that I think we're the only brokerage that offers challenges, right? And we just started a challenge. We're 2 weeks into it, right before the new quarter, 2 weeks right into it. And I got to tell you, it's one of those things where a challenge is literally, it should be taken literally, right? And I think that, levels of commitment are sometimes not really available for us to compare, right? And I know I had a certain level of commitment. I know that my interpretation of commitment is very different from the next person. I've seen individuals that my level of commitment, they just don't meet that standard, right? I look and I see the actions and I'm like, well, I thought you said you were committed, right? And then someone like Carla may look at me and be like, dude, I thought you were committed, right? There's different levels. And these levels are the entire phrase of commitment is not absolute. It is not an absolute type of experience. It comes from, the insight and information that we've received as young individuals, as young adults. It's followed up by it's filtered through knowledge, self-beliefs, and experience, right? So everything that we interpret in this world, it's not absolute. So my interpretation of commitment is completely different from the next person, but yet we talk in our language, right? Thinking that commitment means one thing. And I'm thinking when commitment is a commitment, it's got to be done no matter what. It's got to be done no matter what. Regardless of whatever comes up, it has to be done. And I think that once we come to that realization that commitment is all in. And when I say all in, it's not all in until it gets tough. It's not all in until I have this social event I have to go to. It's not all in until I can't find a babysitter. It's not all in until I'm hungry, until I get too busy, until I have so many clients that I can't handle. All in means it's just got to get done. And when we start looking and approaching the second quarter of, if I commit to certain things on this book, I am going to go all in, I know it's going to radically change and shift our futures. Like the future person that we become will thank this individual that's in front of us. And this challenge, this DTW challenge, and by the way, you can find more information on this on dothework.com. It's really put the light on what my commitments are. You see, I've been trying to get into this shape, right? I feel like endurance-wise, I am in great physical condition, right? When it comes to like endurance sports, I think I'm part of the elite in my world, right? But when I start looking at what I've done, when I look at and analyze what I consume, it's not where it needed to be. And this challenge has really put a light on the things that I thought I was doing, but I really wasn't. What it made me realize is that when I say I'm committed, I have to really analyze and see my behaviors first and foremost. So many individuals struggle in this business of real estate, but they don't realize that their commitments are not really up to par to what this should be. There's a minimum standard. And instead, I think there's a lot of complaints of how busy we are, about how my clients are too tough. I don't have enough time for myself. I don't have my weekends off. And we have to start thinking and really like unraveling the entire concept of this is what we wanted. This is where we wanted to be in order to create the lifestyle that we wanted. There was at a certain point where we would do anything to get to this point. And when we start looking at commitments, we have to start looking at it's going to be tough and it requires a lot of hard work. And when we look at individuals that are happy in their marriage, we just can't say how lucky they are. We just can't assume that it came easy to them. In fact, it was that word, committed, right? It was a commitment from their end to raise the bar. A happy marriage is tough. A successful business is tough. But yet we disregard it on a daily basis, thinking that it was some form of, miraculous intervention where everything just happened to align for those individuals. And when I look at fit people, when I look at people that are in tip-top shape, I now realize the amount of sacrifices they make in order to get there. Now, I appreciate it all my life. I live with an IFBB Pro. But when I look and I hear Carla as she's doing these live presentations, it really and it truly makes me appreciate the level of commitment that she has. And maybe the how I needed to raise my standard on what it is that I'm committed to. And I say, hey, I want the big things here in my business. I have a laundry list of items that I put down on my 12-week target book. Did I accomplish all of them? Well, no, not 100%. But now, if I would have compared it to a different person that had a higher level and understanding of what commitment means, I'm wondering, would they have pulled this off? And that's where I need to really, and I think all of us need to really analyze of what our interpretation of committed means. As I sit there and I'm listening to Carla, when she said, I am doing this for 30 days for you, which means I'm going to put everything on the back burner, she means it. She's not going to miss one day. But yet I see individuals after being in that meeting resting on their laurels. And I'm like, how does this happen? You're fired up, but yet you leave it on the table like it didn't happen. And I think that's the problem oftentimes. Maybe it's you listening to me right now where you get fired up and you're like, you're right, AZ, I'm going to go out and kill it today. But at the moment it gets tough, you give up on those commitments. And we have to do something more than just trying to get motivated, trying to get inspired, trying to feel like, oh, that's exactly what I want to do and that's exactly who I want to be, and really start looking at the actions and interpreting what commitment means. Commitment doesn't mean every once in a while, it means every day. And I'm proud of what I've done here over the last 2 weeks. It's only 2 weeks. She's lived this lifestyle for many, many years. And I don't think I've truly appreciated to this magnitude or her level of commitment. When she says I'm all in, that means cancellation of family trips. When she means all in, that means staying up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, making sure all the plans are provided to every individual that signed up. When she says committed, she also works out and goes on the same exact diet that most of us are complaining about. I think it's time we all raise our standard of what commitment means. It can't be when it's convenient. Commitment means that if there's a time to show up, you show up. If there's a time to eat, you have to eat. If there's a time to make your calls, if there's a time to send an email, if there's a time to follow up, then you do those things. But it's easier to complain that we don't have enough time. It's easier to complain that I'm too hungry. It's too hard. Blame it on clients. Complaining and blaming is your sure path of failure. AZ, I really love this book, but, I just can't get through it all, AZ. So I just decided not to do it. Then you weren't committed. Then quit saying you're committed. Quit saying that you really want it. Quit saying that you're going to change the dynamic of your family. Because there's nothing tough about this. In fact, if you were an employee of mine, you would do this every single day. Right? If this was required and part of your employment was to do this every day, guess what you would be doing? But because you live it on your own hands, you tend to falter. You tend to find excuses. And that's what we have to look at. This is only 30 days. The DTW challenge, which is like a health and it's almost a mental like challenge as well. It's a health and mental challenge, a physical challenge. We have to start looking at like, where else is this bleeding into other aspects of our lives? Because if you can't get this 12-week target done, you can't get the 30-day challenge done, what else can't you get done? And it's real easy to say, I don't know why I don't have the things that I want. And listen, I'm a little behind on certain things here. And I'll be the first to admit. But I also have to appreciate the journey we have taken on the first quarter. Opening this brokerage from the ground up, we're only into this like a month. And it seems like we've been here for years. Right? I underestimated how the transition was going to actually happen. And I put more goals on here. And maybe this is just my form of trying to like come up with an excuse. But I'm not saying we should walk around life just completely beating ourselves up. In fact, this is a quote of the day today. Call yourself out, but don't beat yourself up. Then do something about it. Don't just sit there and regret. I'm looking at what I wanted to do in the first quarter. And there was this massive project that I wanted to do. It didn't occur. However, it didn't occur in the way that I intended it. But here's one thing about the work. Here's one thing about making those deposits. That what you think you want, oftentimes is not the end point. Oftentimes it's not even the path. See, our jobs is just to continue to lay the foundation, right? To continue to just be there and build that capacity. Because what seems like a hard right is actually the next logical step. And that's exactly what we've done. You see, what we've done here with the 30-day challenge and what Carlos produced and with my assistants and my crew here is changing lives in a massive way. It's adding another layer to what we have going on here with Do the Work and AZ and Associates. A layer that we completely missed for many years. A layer that are bringing families together. A layer that's rising confidence, bringing awareness. A layer that's creating leaders. A layer that many people are proud and feeling purpose-driven. Waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, giving up drinking, giving up junk food, giving up the arguments. I had a vision to do that in the first quarter, but it looked very different from what we actually created. You see, it's never supposed to be the way we think. When there's a greater source guiding you because you decided to be committed. And that's the key. It all starts here first. Being committed. See, I'm not disappointed about the plan I had. I'm ecstatic about the plan Carla and I built. This Do the Work challenge, it completely blew our minds of how powerful it is. Completely. It is shifting lives as we speak 2 weeks into it. And I listened to a voice and I thought it was one way. But simple conversations lead to other insights. And because of my knowledge and experience, I was able to do something with that data. Carla was able to do something with that data. Because what we're preparing for is the right opportunity under the right circumstances. And that's what this book is intended to do. And we would have never been able to pull off the type of experience that members are going through right now if it weren't for the reps that we put in before. It's that insight and information. Understand that this book right here will give you the insight and information. And when it's filtered through your knowledge, your self-beliefs, and your experience, watch out. But if you don't have enough of that knowledge, self-belief, if you don't have enough of that experience, then it goes nowhere. And I'm just so proud to hear the stories that I hear on a daily basis of the massive changes that are happening, of the dysfunctional behaviors that are being omitted. You see, I didn't see this when I wrote my book, when I wrote this 12-week target book, when I wrote out my plans in January. And now I see an army. I see an army of individuals living the same path, conditioning themselves to be committed. And if they can do this, they can do anything. They can withstand the troubles at home. They can be greater leaders for their children. They can overcome the obstacles in their business. Because I took that data and I did something about it through my knowledge, self-beliefs, and experience. And that's what we have to do. But we have to set these goals for ourselves. And if we have to pivot right, that's okay. Because that's the voice leading us there. So it wasn't a failure. As a matter of fact, it was a stepping stone. And I'm seeing big things for this. And it's just simply amazing. And I'm inspired every single day, just like I am here in our environment with A's and Associates. You see, these individuals, this whole program started because of the agents, just like you, that bought into a system and believed it, and more importantly, believed it for yourself. And I think this can be a massive movement that can change thousands of lives. It's that great. It's that massive. And I appreciate the commitment Carla has made. And now we have to do our part. If we sign up for something like this, if you enter the doors of A's and Associates, there's a certain commitment level that we expect. And maybe your standard and your interpretation of it has to change. And maybe you challenge us to change ours, and that's okay. Iron sharpens iron. And that's what we're looking for. We want individuals that walk through these doors to contend, to make us better. So, let's think about this. Let's get committed. Let's get committed so we can pick up more insight and information. More insight and information so that when our knowledge, our self-beliefs, and our experience back that up, big things are created. So I want to thank you for joining me for this episode of Mindset Mastery. It is a short one, but I do want you to look into the Do the Work Challenge. Another one's coming up in April. And align that with the 12-week target book, and you will be on fire. Today is the first day of the new quarter. If you have not picked this up, make sure to do so. Do yourself a favor, please. We broke it down again last week. We had a group of individuals online and in person. I got to tell you, I was a little disappointed that I didn't have 100 people there. But that's the reality, right? The 80-20 rule. 20% of the agents will produce 80% of the results. 20% of the population will create, 80% of the wealth. Well, maybe not wealth. Money is different. But there's always that 80-20 rule. I want you to be in that 20%, the 20% that will commit to making massive changes. So if you have not started this, today is the perfect opportunity. The first day, the first official week of the second quarter. So join me. I will be there. What will you create in the next 90 days? I'll tell you everything I create in the next 90 days. I'll tell you. And most of you have witnessed it. But it didn't happen by accident. I have a game plan. I have a blueprint that I'm sharing with you, that I'm encouraging you to do. And yet many of you avoid it. I don't know why, and I don't get that. This building, our trainings, my team that we have here, how we're able to bring this information to you, our challenges, our coaching, it all stems from this. And you may not have a clear path of what you want. I'm telling you that right now, and that's okay. You may not have a clear path of where you're going from here, but your job is to gain that additional knowledge and experience by taking those commitments and being committed to it. So let's get on it, okay? I want you to win. I want you to prosper. I want you to feel fulfilled. And I know some of you have been battling those demons, and I've got a lot of shares, and I will never say your name because that's not my story to tell. It is yours, and I want you to tell it. If you struggle with depression, if you struggled with alcoholism, if you just struggled with anxieties, thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. Because you're changing that viewpoint. And even this challenge that we just started, you're breaking habits that were destroying you. That's a story for you to tell, and I'm encouraging you to do it. And to continue to live strong. It's huge. Let's take some feedback. I crave that feeling to be busy with clients that I don't have time. Yeah. Yeah, once you get it, Arceli, don't ever complain about it. Because the opportunities and the light and the blessings will stop almost immediately at the moment we start complaining. All of a sudden you'll notice the slowdown. It's like, how did this happen? And we start looking at the patterns that got us there is the complaints. It was not appreciating the journey. It's thinking that should be easier. And we have to embrace the business. We have to embrace the requirement. The requirement means that if you want to survive, you're going to be busy. You're not going to have all your weekends. You're going to have to give up social events. You're going to have to say no. And that's the greatest lesson I think I've learned from this entire experience is how to say no. No, I will not shove that in my mouth. No, I cannot go. No, I cannot stay up late. Amir, shifting lives is the most perfect statement you could give. This 30-day challenge is showing how strong we can be in so many other aspects of our lives. Amir, it's just simply amazing. And I know, Amir is part of our coaching program, and I'm just so proud to be able to see that, Amir. I know that there was a interaction where I was a little unhappy, right, on how you responded to certain things, and you rose up. You didn't, go by the wayside or go hide in the crowd somewhere. You rose up, and you're leading your family now. I see you and your wife taking this to another level, and it's inspiring you, right? You're waking up early, you're getting things done, and we're feeling more in alignment with what we should be doing. And that's what a challenge does sometimes. And this is exactly what it's doing. It's sparking that fire. And sometimes we need that. We have that fire, but it's like igniting it, right? It's like an ignition. That's what I needed. Because I don't think if it wasn't for this program, I would have made the type of changes as rapidly and as intentionally as I've done over the last 2 weeks. I think I would have taken my time. Eventually, I would have got to it. But imagine all the time I would have lost. And sometimes we go weeks, months, and years before we actually have the motivation or the inspiration to actually do something about it. We were able to shift that with a simple decision. And now it's just the hard part, the actions, right? And this is just the buy-in. And right now we're going through a detox phase. We're going through a phase that's tough. But the results are phenomenal. So thank you, Amir. I appreciate you, brother. I'm on week 5 of the first book since I started late, so I didn't get the second book. It's okay, Arceli. Just make sure that you watch or rewatch the training. Make sure you understand every aspect of this book. It is powerful. We had a couple of our veteran agents in there, and they're like, AZ, I got 2 leads already just by doing these simple things that I thought I was doing, but I wasn't. And that's all it is. There's nothing complicated about this. It's just simple actions every single day. And that's the way I like it. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me on this Monday. Again, I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you spending it with me. Hopefully you got something that will inspire you. Hopefully you got something that will make you think of what commitment really looks like, right? And start analyzing our behavior so we can improve our lives. And that's my goal, and that's my intention every time I get in front of this mic. What can I say that could possibly shift the paradigm of your life? I hope I did that today. Thank you again for joining us for this episode of Mindset Mastery, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.